gold rush in 1849 put her on the map. Her enormous protected bay and vast tributaries made her the ideal gateway to America from the Orient, and brisk trading by sail was on. In the 1870s, the San Francisco Yacht Club was established as a place where sailors from across the globe could congregate. It also offered an elite sailing program to teach young mariners the craft of sailing. Now, more than 125 years later, the San Francisco Yacht Club is still thriving and is world-renowned for its excellence in sailing instruction. The San Francisco Yacht Club Junior Sailing School has invited us to spend an entire day in class with them, led by instructor Maureen Ford, who explains why sailing in the San Francisco Bay offers a unique challenge for young sailors.
In sailing on San Francisco Bay, it's just there's so much wind. And so if you can sail here, you can sail anywhere, and everybody says this is the best place in the world to sail because of the wind conditions.
People don't usually associate children with sailing, but every child has a place on the water.
A child can be just as important on a boat as an adult. Just because you're an experienced sailor doesn't always mean you can do things by yourself. You might need somebody who may not have as much experience to assist you to do things. So it's a good place for people to build teamwork. A lot of things in life don't give you that skill. And the kids really have a lot of fun because it's fun to play in the water and play in boats when it's not overwhelming. And we play a lot of games with them, and they've got good role models, people they like and feel comfortable with.
The junior sailing class is designed to develop sailing skills for students from age 8 to 18. And every young sailor has their own reasons for heading out to sea.
Well, I think it's great. I just love being out there when the wind is perfect and it's going through your hair.
You have the freedom of going pretty much anywhere where you want on the water. And it's a lot of fun. It's a nice rush, especially when the wind picks up.
You just know people around here and have tons of fun doing it.
It's really like relying on yourself and try to make the boat go fast, and it's a great challenge, and it's a lot of fun.
But before we can hit the high seas, a few fundamentals need to be covered. And topping the list, of course, is safety.
Okay, hey class, you guys listen up. We're going to talk about safety today. This is your first day out on the water. We want you to feel safe and comfortable. Eric and I. Eric, is he one of your instructors? I'm Maureen, your other instructor.
I'm Eric.
And if you need any help or you feel uncomfortable, let us know, and we'll get you out on the boats today and sailing safely. One thing you're going to need out on the boats: personal flotation device, a life jacket that fits you. So, do you all have your life jackets? Put them on correctly, then you zip them up. Great. All right, another thing you might need because it's so sunny out is a set of sunglasses. Those of you who don't have sunglasses might want to use a baseball cap. Cover your eyes a little bit, give yourself a little shade. Some other things you might want to protect besides your body with your life jackets, your eyes with sunglasses or a hat, is your skin with sunscreen. Okay, so you want to lube up. Eric, want to do a demonstration on lubing up? You're going to need a bottle of water so you can drink it. You get dehydrated. You don't think so because it's cool out, but you're going to need water to drink while we're out on the water to rehydrate as the sun dries up some of your water energy. The safety boat that Eric and I will be driving and operating will have extra duct tape if you need to tape up some of your equipment if there's any sharp edges. We also have first aid kit and radios so we can stay in touch with you. So if you need anything from our boat, we'll be in the safety boat with this extra equipment. When you get into your boats, you might want to have a baler just to help clean out the water that builds up as you get water into your boats for any reason. You might tip it a little bit and some water might spill in, so this is a way to clean out the water.
Rigging a sailboat requires many ropes or lines, and a good sailor knows how to tie just about anything down. Eric, our other instructor, is going to demonstrate the most useful knot in sailing.
Okay, we're going to teach the bowline knot. What you want to do is put the loose end in your left hand, put the curved end in your right hand. Okay, from here you want to make a loop, an inside loop if you can. There you go. How's everybody doing with that? Okay, good. Now, we're going to tell a little story. You're making a little hole. Little bunny here. It's gonna go up through the hole. Okay, go down around the tree, and then down, back up through the hole. You want to go up through the hole. The little bunny goes through the hole, goes down around the tree, and then back up through the hole. Now what happens is when you have this loop, okay, and you pull on this line, what happens is that all the pressure goes onto this knot here and not totally on the rest of the line here and where it's holding. You guys can see how that goes. All right, when you have the bowline and it's tied up to a clew or tied up to an outhaul, it's very easy to break this. You use the loop that you see here, you just pull that loop and it breaks everything open. Okay, and you can get your bowline undone very quickly that way.
So you can use your bowline knots to tie your boats to the dock, or we can do some other knots we'll learn a little bit later. But the most important thing is sailors learn to tie knots they can get undone. Sometimes you tie your shoes, you can't get the knots undone. But if you're a sailor, you can always get your knot undone.
Now that safety functions have been covered, we can head for the boats where Maureen will familiarize us with all the parts of a sailboat, as well as demonstrate the proper way to board the vessel.
So you want to start by getting into the boat in a safe position so it doesn't capsize, you don't get into the water, you get into the boat. Pull your boat to you by holding onto the shroud, and don't step on the deck, but rather step in to the center of the boat, holding onto the dock with your hand or your foot, and the boat with the shroud, and then move to the center, keeping your weight low and over the center of the boat so you don't tip. See the boat moving with my weight? It's tippy. Okay, then you can pull yourself back into the dock and help your crew get in. You want to make sure your centerboard is down. Right now, my centerboard is down. Where's my centerboard now, Vicki? It's up. So you pull your line out of the cleat and slide your centerboard down into the center of the boat. Right, once your centerboard is down, then it's easier to move around your boat. See how I can stand up in my boat now? And I can actually move. Moves a little bit, see that? But it's comfortable. And if I ever get nervous, it gets too tippy, I can sit right in the center.
Later in the day, the importance of staying low and centered was dramatically demonstrated by Victoria and Meredith.
You guys don't turtle it. Hold it up. Meredith, hold it up. Vicki, go over to the centerboard.
While this operation looks like complete chaos, later in the program, we'll learn along with the students that capsize recovery is a simple procedure. But for now, let's return to dry land where Maureen will familiarize us with the basic parts of every sailboat.
The sailor language, you learn all the parts of the boat, and that's just so that you can talk to all the other sailors in the world.
The rudder and the tiller are two extremely important parts of every sailboat. The reason why they're so vital is that together they make up the entire steering system of the boat.
Do you see any steering wheel? Anybody see a steering wheel? No. So we steer with something called a tiller and a tiller extension. Here's the tiller. It's a stick in the back of the boat, and it sticks to
Rudder.
Right, the tiller is attached to a rudder. Okay, the rudder is underneath the water steering the boat. And your tiller is up above here where you hold and steer the boat. Got a tiller extension so you can move around the boat. You have a little bit more mobility. You can move forward and aft and sideways.
The art of sailing has been refined and perfected over dozens of centuries, and even parts as seemingly insignificant as the tiller extension have a very specific method of operation.
You know how you hold a tiller extension? Like a microphone, like a rock star. Not like a frying pan and a cook. We have no cooks. We have no galley on this boat. So you hold it like a microphone, a rock star sailor. That's what you're going to all become when we're done with you. What kind of sailor is that?
Cook sailor,
Right, and what's a rock star sailor look like?
like this.
All right.
And when you head off to sea as a rock star, it's a good idea to know your left from right. Only in sailing, the terms for left, right, front, and back are different.
So the boat parts that I'm going to teach you about is the new name for the front we're going to call the bow. And we're going to call the back part the stern. Okay, Okay, so if I say move to the bow, which way are you going to go, David?
Go up that way.
Right, and which way are you going to go if I go say move to the stern?
I'm going to move back.
Right, how far back can you go?
Not this far.
That's it. Then you're going to be over the back end, which is called the transom. The very back flush end. Can you show us where the transom is?
Right here.
Yes. Does anybody know what the right side of the boat is called? Besides right side? Starboard. It's the starboard side. And the port is the left side. Can you think of an easy way to distinguish between starboard and port? How about port has 4 letters and left has 4 letters in the same word? Left, L-E-F-T, port, P-O-R-T.
And the most important part of any sailboat is, of course, the sail. There are usually 2 sails on small sailboats like this one from the San Francisco Yacht Club.
The front sail is typically the jib, and it's a smaller sail on a lot of boats, and the back sail is typically called the mainsail, and it's the big sail. Okay, in every sailboat, we've got 2 sails. The forward sail, the smaller one on this boat, is called the jib. Well, we have a bigger sail. That's a small sail. Wouldn't take you very fast. We want you guys to go fast like rock stars all over the bay. So we have a big sail we're going to put up.
And the bigger sail is aptly named the mainsail. Though simple in design, the mainsail is powerful enough to push the boat at great speeds with absolutely 0 pollution. Raising the mainsail is not much different than hauling your laundry out on the clothesline. Only this clothesline is vertical, and it's called a halyard.
Okay, we're going to start by putting the head of the sail into the track right along the luff. This rope here is called the luff rope. And we'll tell you why it's called the luff rope once we get the sail up and you can see why it luffs. But you feed the rope along first the head, but along the front edge of the sail into the track. And you look up and make sure your halyard is clear. Is it clear?
Looks clear.
Okay, so you can pull your halyard up. So Dave is helping feed the sail into the track, and Andy's pulling it up slowly.
While Dave and Andy raise the mainsail, let's find out exactly what makes a sail work.
The sail is just an airplane wing turned upright, and so what you want to do is capture the wind with some pressure on one side or the other. And if you just have it where there's no pressure on it and the wind's traveling over both sides equally, then it's luffing. But as soon as you angle the sail to the wind and trim it in, it catches the wind on one side and creates a high pressure. And then there's less pressure on this side and it allows you to travel. To start your boats, you have to have wind, which we got plenty of today. And Tom, what else do you have to have to start your boats?
I don't know.
Okay, you have to know how to trim your sails. So we're going to learn how to trim our sails. And that's a word that means just pulling your sails in. Trim means to pull. Okay, so you're going to trim your sails, and you're going to pull on them by pulling some lines, some ropes that are attached to the sails. And on the jib, do you know what the line is called? Or the rope that's attached to the front sail, the jib? Okay, it's a jib sheet. We call it a sheet when it trims the sail. So you're pulling your jib sheet in to trim the jib, and you're going to pull in your main sheet to trim your mainsail. To stop your boat, you're going to ease the sails or ease the sheets that are attached to the sails. So to start or to go, you trim. To stop, you ease. If you don't stop all the way, is there any other way you could stop besides capsize your boat, Vicki and Meredith? You put the brakes on. What way could you put the brakes on, Andy?
Luff your sails.
Okay, so when you ease your sails, you're going to be luffing. These are all these new words that we're learning. So we have start and stop, and that's to trim or to ease. You luff your sails, but you can also turn your tiller.
Tiller towards the sail.
Right, tiller towards the sail to slow your boat down. And then what will happen to your boat will be, let's say the wind is coming from this direction. That's the wind. And you're sailing along. Here's your sailboat. Okay, you're letting your sails luff. See that wrinkly? That's a sail luffing. The wind's just traveling over both sides. Luffing is the wind is passing over both sides of the sail evenly, and the sail is not catching the wind. It's not gaining any speed. It's just luffing in the wind, like a flag. but your boat still hasn't stopped all the way. What you can do is push your tiller towards your sail and your bow will turn up into the wind, and then your boat will be stopped. Okay? And your sail will be luffing over the middle of the boat. So that's what we're going to practice today, starting and stopping. Okay, Andy and Evan, trim your sails in. Okay, now stop your boat. Let your sails out, ease them. Let your lines out. Good. Tiller towards the sail to allow the wind to pass over. Good, both sails are luffing. Does everybody see that? Good job.
Now we've learned how to stop by letting our sail luff downwind, which brings us to an interesting point. If the wind blows in a steady direction, aren't we limited to only sailing in the direction the wind blows? The answer is no. Using techniques called tacking and jibing, you can also sail across the wind's path at a slight angle and still get plenty of forward motion. Maureen outlines the basics of sailing across the wind with the essential techniques of tacking and jibing.
Tacking and jibing are two ways to turn. It's a sailing terminology for turning your boat or steering your boat in a new direction. So when you tack, you're turning your bow through the eye of the wind, and when you jibe, you're turning your stern through the eye of the wind. And all it is changing directions, and the wind pressure is going from one side of the sails to the other side of the sails. The crew is switching from one side of the boat to the other side of the boat in sync with being opposite the sails. So as the sails are centered, the crew is centered, and then the crew is opposite the sails again.
Tacking is not only essential to sailing, but it also happens to be one of the most exciting parts of the sport.
Tacking is a really difficult skill to master. It's an easy skill to learn, and people kind of do it naturally at first and later on figure out what it is they just did. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to practice tacking. And I want you to go down the basin here and tack up towards me. And I want you to do it as soon as you feel comfortable, but you're going to work on a couple of tacks, zigzagging up the hill of wind. The wind is like a hill. You're climbing, you're swimming upstream. Okay, so you're going to have to tack because this is a narrow channel. In order to go in that direction all the way out, the wind's coming from that direction, you have to tack upwind to get out.
Let's see how Dave and Tom handle tacking up the narrow channel.
I want you to talk real loud about how you're doing your tacks. Okay, they're pushing their tiller. Their sails are crossing and their weight is shifting across the boat. And they're changing their hands. The sails are changing and the tiller, the main sheet and the tiller are changing. Good exchange on the tiller and the main sheet, Tom. Changing the tiller behind your back in the main sheet. Ready. Pushing the tiller towards the sail, crossing the boat, facing forward, sitting down on the new side, and trimming their sails. See, a nice tack.
Ready.
Tiller towards the sail. Great, Tom. Switching the sails, switching your weight, and switching your hands so that your main sheet hand is forward and your tiller hand is aft. Let's see one more good one.
It's this kind of regular practice that leads up to real fun at higher speeds on the open water. Now that we've mastered tacking, let's talk about its sister technique, jibing, which is the exact opposite. In tacking, the boat is pointed upwind, while in jibing, the boat points downwind.
In both cases, you want to make sure that you keep the boat balanced and you're not going so fast that you're out of control. Later on, when you become a master or a rock star sailor, then you can pull it really fast through and jibe quickly and tack quickly and the crew's in sync. But at first, you want to do everything slow so you can see what it's like and get a feel for all the things you're doing. Tom and Dave, why don't you come back here and let's practice some jives. Okay, you guys jive when you're ready. Good exchange on the hands, Tom. Good sail trim, Dave. One more. Let's see another really good jive. Good smooth jive, Tom.
So far, we know the tiller connects to the rudder and helps steer the boat. We also know about tacking upwind and jibing downwind, and that trimming the sails makes us go faster. But what about those rare times when things seem to take a turn for the worse?
Oh my god! Okay, you okay? That's fine, go for it, go!
Capsizing is a part of sailing. While it's not very likely to happen, being prepared for it is mandatory before going out on your own. In this demonstration, Meredith and Vicky, novice sailors at this point, have great difficulty righting the boat because they are neither prepared in technique nor in physical fitness. Let's watch this precarious incident unfold.
Can you climb up on the centerboard? Use your jib sheet. Pull yourself up.
Okay, I did it before.
Want to do it from the front? Meredith, you might have to come help her if she can't get on the centerboard. You might have both of you help on the centerboard. Hold on to the centerboard. Don't let go of it, Vicky. You don't want your boat to turtle. Keep your weight on it. Okay, both of you, pull the centerboard up. Okay, Vicky, why don't you swim around and get scooped? Meredith seems like she can pull it up. Meredith, grab your jib sheet. And maybe go from the front edge, Meredith. Wait till Vicky's ready to get scooped. Hold your weight on the centerboard, Meredith. Hold your weight on the centerboard. You're turning, Meredith. Get your weight on the centerboard edge. Vicky, you're pulling the boat over. Vicky, hold the gooseneck up, Vicky. Hold your mast up, Vicky. You're pulling the boat over. Turtling is when your boat turns upside down and your mast is stuck in the mud or upside down, and you have to get your boat back to a capsized position before you can right it. So turtling is a little bit harder to recover from sometimes if your mast gets stuck.
That was so your fault! That was so your fault! Oh my god, that was so your fault!
We put too much weight on one side of the boat, and so the boat flipped over on its side, and we were on top of the sails, and so the boat went all the way over, so that the bottom of the boat was on top of the water, and we had to turn the boat over.
Yeah.
Now, whose fault was it?
Hers.
Were you guys standing in the center of the boat?
I was, and then she went over to like do something on that side and it flipped over.
There was too much weight on this side at one time,
What happened?
and she couldn't balance my weight out.
I jumped in the water and then she pulled out because she was caught.
I was
like
caught.
under the sail.
I was on top of the sail, and so the boat kept on going over.
So how do you avoid that?
Stay in the middle.
Yeah, stay in the middle of the boat and keep your weight in the central part of the boat, and warn your crew before you go fix something.
Yeah, let's talk to your crew. That's crew work.
She's the skipper.
The young sailor trying to get on the centerboard had difficulty because she was light and she hadn't practiced, hadn't had much experience getting onto the centerboard from the water, so she had a hard time pulling herself up. So the boat started to go over and turtle, and she was trying to prevent it by hanging on the centerboard. So we switched crews, so the heavier crew was on the centerboard.
After a dry towel and some more coaching on land, Meredith has perfected her capsize recovery technique with another crew member, Andy. Let's watch this flawless demonstration of how to right a boat.
Okay, jump in the water. Good. Hold up the gooseneck. Don't let it turtle.
All right, you okay?
Okay, he's on the centerboard. Get ready to get scooped, Meredith. I got it. Meredith, into the boat. All right. Help your crew in.
In this drill, Meredith took only 30 seconds to right the same boat that took almost 15 minutes the last time she capsized. It's a perfect example of how being prepared is the key to boating safety and feeling in charge out on the water. With all the excitement of sailing in strong wind, it's also possible for a crew member to accidentally fall overboard. And of course, Maureen has a drill for that as well.
Well, when we teach children to recover somebody who falls off their boat, we call it the man overboard recovery method. When you yell crew overboard, Tom's going to come back and rescue you. But do you know why you fell overboard? What would be some reasons you might fall overboard?
Because I fell out, because the hiking strap broke.
Right? The strap that you put your feet on, you were hiking on, broke, or you lost your balance, or maybe he turned the boat to avoid something and you weren't ready. We're teaching the crew overboard because a lot of times people do fall off boats, and it's nothing dangerous as long as you know how to pick them back up, recover them. And so we go out and we practice with a dummy, a simulator, and we use a bucket that fills up with water and a life jacket which simulates, what a crew would be wearing so you can pull them in.
This is what we use for our crew overboard. We use a bucket. What the bucket does is once you throw it in the water, it fills with water and acts as a weight so that you have to pull something up into the boat. Okay, the other end we tie to a life jacket so that there's something floating on the surface that we can grab onto. Tie it anywhere on the jacket that you can, okay? And then we're ready to try our man overboard drill.
So here's your man overboard, so that neither of you have to go in. But what's going to happen is we're going to pretend Dave falls overboard. So Dave, when you pretend to fall overboard, you throw in the man overboard, and then you yell, man overboard, okay? And you let your sails luff. And Tom, once you hear crew overboard, what are you going to do?
Turn around and get him.
Turn around and get him. If you have an extra life jacket on board your boat, this boat you don't have it because your crew is wearing it, but if you had an extra, you'd throw it to them. So what you do is you turn around and go get them. And I want you to use the figure 8 method. And that's where you tack, back around, go to leeward of your crew, downwind of your crew, and then come up and pick him up. And he's going to be on the windward side, and you're going to pull him in over the side. Okay, and you're not going to do anything because you're going to pretend you're not even on the boat. And then the crew goes back and tacks over and recovers them, coming from a leeward position or downwind up to them and picking them up on the windward side of the boat so they don't capsize onto their crew and create more problems for themselves. So how are you going to pick up your man overboard, on the windward side or the leeward side?
The windward side?
We pick them up on the windward side so you don't capsize the boat to leeward, because these are tippy boats. So you pick them up on the windward side and you just pull them in by the life jacket. Uh-oh, your crew fell over. Better get him. Oh, you got a big puff of wind. Tom, I don't want you to jibe because you might capsize, so do another tack and come up underneath your crew, okay? You want to have your crew to windward. Too much speed, you might run him over. Slow down. And then turn up into the wind as you pick him up. Good. That's great. Oh, is that crew heavy or what?
And that's it. A successful rescue and all hands are safe. Now that we've got our fundamentals of safety techniques down, it's time to put it all together in our first regatta, otherwise known as a boat race.
Okay, I'm Dennis Wall. I'm gonna be blowing the whistles for this and calling the course. Right now, I'm gonna go with an Olympic course, which is where you start in the middle. The 3-minute start. with the sequence, starting with 3 minutes. Then you're going to come up to the windward mark and you go over to the jibe mark and you go down the leeward mark. And you come up to the windward mark again. You go down the windward mark, go down the leeward mark, and then you come up and start and finish in the middle. It's an Olympic course. Right on.
A regatta is the ideal situation for developing your sailing skills. It requires sailing in all directions, thorough knowledge of your vessel, partnership and communication with your crew members, obeying the rules of the harbor, and wearing lots of sunscreen. Plus, it's a chance to meet and congregate with new sailors from parts east and west. And the urgency of a competitive race simulates the need to act and think fast out on the open seas. As we conclude our day, we realize that sailing offers young people a chance to be independent and responsible. It gives them a sense of pride to know they have a skill they can use anywhere on the planet. It's freedom. It's sharing experiences and developing lifelong friendships. It's a gateway to a world of goodness.